Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back once more to some more Faceit League action. Got ourselves a fantastic match here in North America. The undefeated Dreamland taking on Amplify. And Amplify, who's had themselves a pretty good season so far at this stage. Obviously, a team that has been very back and forth in terms of performance, but now they've gotten five straight wins in a row. They've won 4 of their last 5, I should say. But they're off to a good start, 5-2 in the season. It's a phenomenal job by them on all accounts.
Yeah, especially when you look at Amplify the last couple seasons here in Faceit Masters. Granted, not the same people on this team. This has been a roster that's been constantly in flux every season. This is a team, and especially this formation of Amplify, who has really, really excelled so far this season. Normally, I think at this point last season, Hunter, we were looking at Amplify as one of those teams in the bottom 4, at least the bottom half. Right now, though, they are in the top half and looking like one of the best teams here in this tier. However, you talk about Dreamland, undefeated, 6-0. And the names on this roster, I mean, it's not a surprise that they're one of only 2 undefeated teams left in Faceit Masters here in North America. The other one being Nightmare Professional, or Nightmare Pro, as they like to call themselves here. But this Dreamland team, I mean, off to a strong start, has a lot of games to go, though, here in the season before we head to playoffs.
Yeah, 100%. Still a lot can happen in this time. We have seen teams both be low in the season and work their way back up to the playoffs, and very much vice versa, off to a good start and just not able to capitalize on it. But both these teams looking good. It's a fantastic test for Amplify, and for Dreamland, honestly, it's a really good test as well. We brought up a point earlier that it has been a very, very long time since we have had an undefeated team in North America. I can't recall the last time. Dreamland was a team that came close to it. I believe suffered 2 losses back in Season 5, got very close. I'll obviously fact check myself.
I think Boop Troop was undefeated until the last week last season.
Yeah, they got so far. They had such a generational run, and they finished 3rd that year. Which, to be fair, hey, good on them. They deserve it. I'm happy for them. Yeah. And now that Boop Troop lives on in YFP, so they've been having themselves a good season. But either way, we're ready to head into this match. Dex, as the other ban is the Sigma. Ooh.
Yeah, Sigma coming out here. We're heading to Nepal for our first map. Soj and Sigma gonna be banned out here, and honestly, I think these are 2 really good bans compared to what we saw a little bit earlier tonight in South America. I think these are 2 really good bans for this map. Sigma really good on this map, and Poke, you especially see him a lot in the pit map, and sometimes even on Village. Sojourn, again, just an overall good hero right now. A hit scan, always really good. Railgun strong. Sojourn just has a lot of mobility as well. Get rid of that here, especially slowing someone like J-Man down could be a really big thing for them, because Hunter, I mean, me and you, we really like J-Man. Maybe one of the best, maybe not, I don't want to say one of the best, but I believe J-Man is one of the best hit scans in this tier. At least maybe a little bit underrated by some people, but still a really good hero. But you look at the lineups here for both these teams. I mean, these are 2 really, really stacked teams. This could honestly, I think, be a little bit of a playoff preview matchup here for both these 2.
I think 100% is, at least in terms of Dreamland, 100%. And obviously, we'll see how Amplify's schedule goes forward. They have managed to face some of the really tough teams already as well. I think they're in a phenomenal position, but I think if they're able to come in here, obviously you want to win this game, but even if you manage to take away a map or 2 from this Dreamland squad, I think you cement yourself as a contender right there. But either way, for the time being, we're seeing Zarya v Ramatra. Draver are going to get them out of there quickly. They'll be able to take control of the high ground a lot quicker. Actually, nope, Biz makes the swap too, so here we go. Set away, as we're going to have the Vendetta out here with this.
We saw what Vendetta is able to do a little bit earlier in South America. However, I think that might have just been a little bit of a one team better than the other team situation there. However, if Vendetta can get going, it's going to be really, really hard for either team to shut them down. And right now, you already see Gap shutting down Nenway. A great start here for Amplify.
100%. Take away all that speed. You still have the TP, so it gets them out of there momentarily. You're in a rough spot right there. If you're Biz, though, J-Man, lucky to be alive right now. Point slowly being capped. TP is ready off to the high. They are going to drop down, but not time to contest. So Point, for the moment, being over on Amplify, but they're going to be forced out, and Dex, I don't think they can recontest this right now.
Oh, not at all. 6% might be the least amount of percent you can actually get in one single cap. A TP, though, coming out there from Graveyard, and it already seems like Amplify is going to have to be really, really quick to, respond to those TPs out there. If you are 1 second too slow on responding to them, you might just be 1 second close to the spawn.
Yeah. Good boop coming through there from Ewan, but unfortunately, Biz lets him going down. you don't have the All-Star Blade supplement this fight either. You got to try to get a really good pick here momentarily if you want to try to win this fight. Unfortunately, Jackson, I don't think it's going to happen right now. They just rigged your way for you to get back.
Yeah, and one thing that we haven't really touched on a little bit here, that we're seeing a double kind of speed comp come out from the support line here for Amplify with both Lucio and, Juno, but by Lucio, Diz, and J-Man out here pretty early.
Yeah, and Gap last one to get out, but isn't going to be able to even do that. Full team like comes through. Kiwi able to get the Amplification Matrix online early, but you're going to have a Grab Dragon combo up here not too long, and even with No Eyes Beat, that's not even a big solution for it.
No, not really either. But going back to what I was saying with the double kind of speed you're seeing with Lucio Juno coming out here for Amplify, it's just the one thing of sustainability, just being able to pump out healing. Because right there on the other side, you already see it for Dreamland. They have Kiwi on this BAP, who, I mean, Immortality Field will be able to save their team in a lot of situations and give them some sustainability. That's going to be very hard for a team like Amplify, especially when Biz is going in as the first person every fight.
Yeah, and Gap is just separated and annihilated momentarily. Managed to live a second longer, but J-Man is going to let it loose here. Managed to get rid of Graveyard, so wants to try to keep this one alive. But still, without the tank, it's going to be rough. J-Man forced out. B comes up online for Ewan. Thinks this is somehow winnable, but it's not looking to be the case. And now with 90% on the board, everyone's going to die quickly. But unfortunately, with who's left, Crazy Cat might not even get a touch. Gets spotted out.
And that's the problem with this comp you're seeing right now from Amplify. There will be a touch. No, there won't. But what I was going to say, the problem with this competition for Amplify is that everything solely relies on how long Gap is in the fight. If Gap's in the fight for the majority of it, you really have to give Amplify a lot of this potential to win them. I mean, Zarya's so sustainable. Bubbles are very, very key to her kit and making sure someone like Biz, someone like Ewan are able to play aggressively on those heroes. But with Gap falling off first, it was a little bit of a surprise to see a little bit of an investment there from Amplify rather than just a quick disengage and then re-engage. But again, you understand the situations, you understand the points, you got your one pick with the Dragons, you were really hoping that maybe someone else would find another one there so that you could still have an advantage even down your tank there, but just wasn't the case. A great start for Amplify. Immediately went bad though after one fight, and Dreamland picking up right where they left off, showing us why they are one of the only undefeated teams left here, and no big swaps coming out here manually on this Bastion. We saw a little bit earlier in South America, Hunter, but Bastion, again, like I said, someone who can pump out a lot of DPS in a short amount of time, and the bubbles for Gap might just be the target you're really looking for here, because it doesn't matter if the bubbles are popped and how highly charged Zarya is. If Zarya is not on the field, the bubbles won't be there.
100%. Biz gets spotted out, has to kind of duck out of there for the time being. Was kind of just trying to wait and be that playing through if there was a direct confrontation by Bridge, but instead, point unlocked, slowly being kept away by Amplify. They need to try to finish out this fight, though. Dion, though, somehow goes off the edge right here. Biz forced into a corner, but for the time being, point going to be capped. Ewan also gets away with the boop right here, so eventually, manually Kiwi got to hit the reset button.
And that's the problem sometimes with these symmetric comps. If you're playing on a map like this where you're basically TPing from edge to edge, if you're just one step farther back than what you think, you're just kind of killing yourself right there. And that's exactly what happened with Neon. And now Biz getting get that bubble to keep him alive, but they now need to find a way up, and Ewan!
All right, Ewan, buddy, we see you loud and clear. Wait, a third away? Wait a minute. Is Ewan gonna get the 4K? Oh my God.
Ewan, get the ace.
Get the ace right there. Come on, get the ace. Let him get it. Let him get it. Winner, winner, chicken dinner.
Faceit, you're looking for your replay. Ewan at least just provide you one right there. But I mean, hey, this is a much better start here for Amplify after what was considerably like a little bit of a disappointment after that first fight win, getting that first point cap, only getting 6% after that. You look at Dion on the other side for Dreamland, 30%. That's how much of a non-factor they've been so far.
Yeah, and then why dead first in this instance. Biz already getting rid of 2, and now gonna have that Sundering Blade online for the next coming fight. Gap getting closer and closer to this grab as well. Hey, being afraid of Grab Dragon? How about Karav Sundering Blade?
Yeah, I'm being afraid of anything right now with Grab is a really strong thing. But again, I'm looking at Dion here. 60% to ultimate, 71% and counting up here on point. I mean, if you're Dreamland, you really need to get something going towards point, but you really don't want to have it be your ambition that has to get you going.
Yeah, and this is all out aggression being given right here. Kiwi eventually forced away, but manually is getting it done. Just Ewan hanging around. Eventually, he's going to finish the take manually with them. But that is going to cause the point to eventually flip over. But the bright side there, you get out the app matrix, you pretty much get it over to what is essentially Final Fight territory, and you still have 3 ultimates, including 2 potential combos.
Yeah, but you now look over at Dreamland. They're actually in a really good spot with some sustainable ults. Annihilation beat Photon Barrier and manually just pop off the artillery just to really buy some space for their team here. I mean, you have ultimates right now for Dreamland that you can really start cycling through these ultimates on the other side of, like I said, good combo potential, but you need to have a lot of value coming out from them. Biz, though, not going to be able to find anything.
Yeah, and now Gap is hoping the grab comes through.
Oh my
Dragon is going to come through into that. As simple as can be, 2 down, and it's going to fall apart from there with 97% on the board. Last one to touch Nenwai, who does have the beat. Overtime will come through, but Nenwai is just going to take a trip up to the sky around a couple of times for inevitably point given up. Heading over to the 3rd round here. Going to be decided at Shrine.
That, ladies and gentlemen, is why you mind the gap. Honestly. Ewan has 9 kills and 9 elims. I am going to say probably 7 or 8 of them came from just booping people off the edge. Like, Ewan honestly was the MVP, but you really have to go back to the start of that entire point right there when it first opened up. You saw both teams kind of rotate the map, flip the map, and then a TP came out from Graveyard and Dion fell off. And that was just, I think, the one mistake that really gave Amplify all the momentum they kind of need there, because Dion really struggled throughout that map right there. And you saw a big difference in points 1 to points 2. Now we're over here to Shrine, and it's going to be a lot different. And really, still no big swaps. I'm honestly kind of surprised to see manually stick with this Bastion after, essentially, other than the one fight they won, I looked at the Bastion as a little bit of a non-factor last point.
Yeah, but I mean, to be fair, you kind of, I feel like it works a little bit better here, not to an insane degree by any means, but we'll see momentarily as Biz trying to block it all away, trying to find a little something up there with the supports, but unfortunately not able to get the follow. But Gap is horribly separated for the moment, and eventually manually gets destroyed. It's Biz that does it in, but it's trading back and forth already. Gap is able to have a lot of charge, sitting really well over on this point. Gonna go over towards them to get things started, but still, you need to be able to find a pick here to cap everything off, because Dion is still at full strength here, and Gap, lucky to still be alive, might have to surrender the point momentarily.
Yeah, they're going to give the point here very quickly, though, but you're going to have everyone back here for both sides. It's going to be a pretty even fight, but again, I'm looking at what the mistakes were the first point here for Amplify. Biz maybe getting a little bit over-aggressive, and right now, they're in a spot where you could really say a boop or just more focus on them really ends a lot, but manually, like I said, was a little bit of a non-factor last map. Now they're being much of a factor.
And Gap no choice but to die here, losing all that precious charge, but gets pretty close to that grab as well. Grab dragging around the corner, no response for it as eventually Biz will go down. But it's a long fight. A lot of the other ultimates are ready to go back.
Yeah, again, like, look at this point right now. Dion almost has their Annihilation. It took him about until 95% last point to get Annihilation online. Big difference here, especially from them. But now you're starting to see Dreamland kind of come back into it. They're feeling themselves a little bit more here. You have ultimates online, Photon Barrier, and the artillery from manually. That could be something that buys you time. You're hoping for a combo on the other side, but mostly we haven't been seeing that combo come out. They'd rather not have to wait and have to use 2 ultimates to hopefully maybe just find 1 pick. But we're about to see a full house for both sides here, Hunter. Who's going to have the ace?
We're about to find out right here. Grab comes through, and the Dragon thrown directly into contact. Ewan helps get rid of 1, trying to survive through it all. Unfortunately, it's just not going to be the case. A little bit more sustainability comes through, but eventually going to be finished off. We'll be able to get this thing over to about 72%, but it's a great combo. They still keep all their other ultimates on the table, including the support ults.
Yeah, 2-for-2 trade there for both teams, but honestly, I think if you're Dreamland, you're okay with the ultimates that came out from the other side. There, you got rid of Grab, you got rid of Dragons. Those are 2 good ultimates. You still have your own beat. They have their own beat, but you have your Annihilation, which could be really, really important here. However, you're looking at Manually's artillery and just saying, okay, what are we going to get from that? Is it going to be spacing? Is it going to be just kills? Or is it going to be J-Man taking off your head and Ewan finding another boop kill? Mind the gap.
You gotta stop this, Ewan. Listen, they have families, all right? That is what, I think like 5 boop kills on the game already?
Say about, I think Ewan's getting close to double-digit boop kills here with
insane.
What is that? 16 kills overall. Elim's credit to him. I'm going to say that's at least double-digit boop kills. I mean, again, you have to know where the ledges are, and you have to know that Ewan has been going hyper-aggressive to it. Oh my goodness, they're going to fall for it again.
No, they do back out. Beat expended. They're going to go down main here. They're not even going to bother with this path right here as Kitsune Rush comes out. Got to manage the aggression just a little bit. Back out of there, let it go away. Certainly, they don't go to the outside again. I think they've learned their lesson, and they're going to be going on the inside this time around.
But a big thing, Dreamland used beat there, and they didn't do anything. They didn't engage, they just backed out. So that's a wasted ultimate. Now you are really relying on Manly and Dion to find a lot of value with theirs, while Ewan is still holding on to their own beat here.
Yeah, this is going to be massive as well. J-Man is also going to have this ready to go as well. For the moment that you want to cause some separation, J-Man targeted momentarily, but here comes that Annihilation. Desperately needed, trying to cut people off as J-Man. It's just going to cause a bunch of damage to Dion, who gets burnt down, and now overtime there. The touch comes through. Unfortunately, I think the touch is all it's going to be, as eventually Amplify going to cap, going to take over our first point of the series. And it's a really good bounce back in comparison to that first round.
Yeah, I mean, the first round, it was Amplify won a fight, and that was it. The second point, we talked about it. They really capitalized on some mistakes by Dreamland, and just really not allowing Dion to play. Third point, I think that's what we're going to be seeing a lot this series. A lot more back and forth, but Amplify, they started to pick it up there a little bit. They started to really, cohese a little bit as a team right there. But again, we talked about it. Ewan, I think, was the biggest difference maker there of that map. I mean, at least double-digit boop kills right there, environmental kills. You cannot allow a Lucio to do that, especially after they spend the entire second point really just looking for it time after time again, and then you go right by and play by an edge. Ewan's gonna punish you there. I mean, Ewan struggled a little bit last season on, I believe he was on Shikigami, if I remember correctly. But right now on Amplify, he seems to have really gelled with his team a little bit more here, and especially to his aggressive play style, and you're seeing it as well. I mean, Biz is playing aggressively, and Gap was playing really aggressively on that Zarya, so you're seeing this team really play aggressively, and Dreamland has to be on their toes a little bit. They were able to keep it under control that first point because that composition that Dreamland was playing was really built for that kind of slow pace play like that. And Symmetra, after that first point, I think really just fell off for Dreamland.
100% it did. 100%. And there goes to say a lot about this team and what they are able to accomplish. Because obviously there's the added benefit that much of Dreamland has played together for some time. But a lot of these core members, especially you see Talisman, who is still over there on the bench right now, Graveyard, Manually, Kiwi, been on this team for a long time. But you could say the same thing. Gap, Crazy Cat, Ewan, like especially Gap and Crazy Cat, longtime players. When it comes to Amplify, they have stuck around for a hot minute now. And I think it really shows how well they mesh with each other, because we've had nothing bad to say about them at this stage of the game. And that is good. It's kind of like we again, I'm making a sports reference, but when you don't hear a defender's name that often, that's usually a good thing.
Yeah, it's like the analogy I always make. You never hear praise for the offensive line because, hey, if they're doing their job, they normally don't get talked about. The only time you ever hear anything bad about an offensive line in football is when either they're terrible or, man, they are really winning games for their team here. And I always say that a lot about the support lines for almost any team. But right there, I mean, we were not talking about some players there for obviously good reasons. And we could have been talking about them probably a lot more, but their teammates were just taking the space up there because they were allowing them to here. But now, heading into King's Row, Ramatra and Venture banned out here. I like these bans again. I mean, we only saw Amplify play that Venture, and we only saw the Ramatra come out from Dreamland. I think these are two really good bans here, especially on this map. It opens you up to a little bit more here. You can see Orisa come out here, or you could really see probably what's going to happen here. Dive potentially come out here from both sides. Actually, no, it looks like, well, Amplify going to be sticking with the Zarya as, hey, ain't broke, don't fix it. You have to be a little bit faster, though, to build it up this time around. But the other side, who does have some time to make some swaps here, at least teasing us with a Sigma, I feel like that's going to swap here.
There's a chance, especially with Gap being on the Zarya, I wouldn't feel the most confident in the world. But the question is what you go to. I think you have a couple of options. Honestly, that Zarya mirror going back the other way is really tempting. I think the Ramatra wasn't doing too bad, all things considered. I think it would work a little bit better on King's Row, if anything else. But the biggest concern, which is why I think they might stay it, is because these high grounds are going to be so difficult to deal with, and Sigma is so good at taking care of that.
Yeah, and you have to remember the Ramatra is banned out this map.
I rest my case.
Yeah, but no big shocks coming out here. I actually like what Graveyard and Kiwi did there, making that swap over here. I like the Mei coming out here on the attacking side. We've seen it normally a lot on the defense side, but we start to see a lot more Mei attacking, especially just being able to section off someone like Gap, force those bubbles out early, and just melt them down. That's what they want to be doing here. As I mean, you're going to see Amplify give up some space here, maybe give up a little bit of point progress. Probably not going to give up not going to give up a tick.
Yeah, not quite, but they're slowly working towards it. They need to keep going and going and going. J-Man is going to get a ton of pressure on this high ground right here. Only has a small window, but still, you constantly have 3 people trying to fire through that window. Plus a bunch of disruption. Biz is taken care of early. Nenwai almost getting their head taken off, but is barely staying alive as Gap trying to sustain and gain some kind of charge to get back into this one, especially if you can burn through Dion. Unfortunately, Dion still has those Kiwi hills like crazy. It's just really tough to bounce back from this.
Yeah, and again, we go back to the first point last map where just the sustainability from the composition that we saw from Dreamland was, I think the thing that really won them that first point. Now you see kind of a mirror match there on the support line. So you have sustainability on both sides with Biz trying to focus in on Kiwi here. Should be able to find them, gonna be able to find them, but you lose J-Man for it.
Yeah, 1-1 right now. Manually, though, is extremely low. If they go down, yeah, this fight should be done and over with right here. Dion gonna be pushed back in, separated, but does get hit with the accretion, so is still alive momentarily. And you're going to have Kiwi right around the corner is going to be able to help sustain. This was a really good play by Dreamland. Unfortunately, it's not going to pay off at all.
No, it's not. I mean, you get a bit of gap right there for Dreamland, and you're still going to be able to go in here. I mean, you should actually get the first point here in just under 2 minutes. I mean, a good job by them there, just at least forcing Gap to maybe overcommit themselves into that fight. But now you're starting to look here at ultimates for both teams. They're coming up to them, but with J-Man making a swap over here to the Hanzo, you see Dreamland have a decent amount of advantage here, but I like the aggressive coming out here from Amplify, just try to buy back some time and play arches.
Yep, and that is a excellent play by Biz right there to stay behind, being able to catch people out. And now, with this being a situation, like you said, they can play the arch, they're able to play in one of the most, honestly, I feel like it's not, you know, I think it's very fair to say, one of the hardest points to really get through is this arch play.
Yeah, but right now you're seeing Amplify not even play archers, they're actually playing through them, and yeah, Ewan maybe should have been punished a little bit earlier, but Graveyard going to be able to find them there, and look what that does here to Amplify. That basically ends whatever they want to do, because that's their speed. Now they're just trying to back out as fast as they possibly can, knowing that they do not have any sort of advantage here without the beat on their side. While you see the full house ready to go here now for Dreamland. And Hunter, I think Dreamland actually needs to play a little bit aggressively here. Throw the first punch. You want to make Amplify react here, not have you yourselves be the reactors.
Yeah, 100%. But yeah, both balls are on the corner. You have the ability to be aggressive, but instead it's Biz who's going to try to go aggressive. Is going to burst through. Is going to force everybody back at the very least. A big investment from all the sides right here, hoping to get somebody. Nobody is dead yet though, thanks to the double beat. Grav already out. His cap is being taken care of. J-Man could potentially invest, but I think it's more than likely not going to be worth it here, as everyone's going to slowly be picked off. And J-Man, Crazy Cat, got the fall on the point, but manually cleans out the last 3. And even through that chaos, Kiwi holds onto the Ant Matrix.
And it's a big ultimate to hold on to, honestly. And even though they weren't the team to throw the first punch, I think they played everything right there. Flux, beat, everything kind of went their way. Gap invested, Grab was not able to find anything with it. Now here comes the Ant Matrix to buy them the time to find the second point, because you are not going to see Amplify really push into this at all. What's the name is Biz?
Oh my god, yeah, Biz gets just a temporary relief, but I would think temporary is a fair word right there. Ewan decides, yeah, let's just take the reset, as Gap and Crazy Cat unlikely to get out of here alive. Full reset, and Biz makes the swap off of the Venture over to the Hash now.
Actually gonna be Soj coming up here. Gap also making the swap here to mirror that Sigma here. And I mean, maybe a little bit questionable with the Sig coming out for me, but I should really learn that sometimes these players maybe know a little bit more than I do, because this Sigma that Dion's been playing has been great. Gap now trying to mirror it here, but if you're Amplify, you do have some ultimates at your disposal here that, I mean, it puts you not in the worst spot, but Dragons already from J-Man. That should at least be able to find one.
Yeah, but it's the double investment here, so they're going to win this fight 100%. Get the full team wipe on top of that. It's great. It does stop momentum, but you do use both of the ultimates you have left over for it. And at the end of the day, is that worth it to stop the momentum right there?
I think it is, because this is such a hard point to just get back into. You see Amplify kind of playing up. The one thing you cannot have happen is have someone get picked off early, because remember, they were playing ahead of Arches before you lost Ewan, and then you just had to quickly back out, and you really did not find your footing after that. Now they're smartly backing out here, didn't lose anyone. Gap could be sectioned off by the ice wall there for a brief moment, but I like in the investment there. However, the investment is about to come back here for our Dreamland. I don't think Amplify is going to be ready for it.
So high there, but here goes Manually trying to find a little something. Is going to try to cut off Crazy Cat, who is barely alive, but it's the freeze afterwards that's going to help catch out Crazy Cat here. But still, we're going back and forth. Graveyard finds a nice shot onto Biz right there, and that should make the Gravy Train start rolling forward. A little bit of stall from Ewan and J-Man. It's a little something. Okay. Ewan actually hits rid of 2 in that whole process.
Yeah, and that, honestly, you and find Manually out there, it's going to slow down Dreamland here, because that's a big source of damage gone. Yeah, you still have Dion and Graveyard there, and Dion already finding 1, but you see Gap there. They have their own flux. They can use that at any moment here, and they're going to do it to at least buy some time.
Yeah, 1. Dion will end up going down as a result, but again, Dragon invested here. I don't love it at the end of the day, going and doubling down again on that, but at the end of the day, you don't accept they have a combo to work with as Graveyard. Yeah, sent to it very much so, but again, they stop the momentum, they stem the bleeding, and they still have been successful.
Yeah, I mean, and you're seeing some swaps come out now from the side of Dreamland. Graveyard and Kiwi going over to Genji and Kiriko, but you still have your own flux, you still have your own beat coming on here right now if you're Dreamland, so you don't really have to stress that much, but you start seeing Amplify. They're going to have 3 ultis here. They can kind of play them slow, use 1 at a time. Biz already using 1.
Yep. Flux comes down, throw down the Gap. Good, you shield it right there. Stop that accretion, is able to keep themselves alive, gets a bit of care. Ewan now has the beat back online, is gonna go really aggressively with it. They're gonna try to chase bodies down. Nenwhite is gonna be able to get out alive, and this beat is aggressive, but it doesn't get anything.
Yeah, I don't like the use of the beat there. I think they should have held on to that, because you know that the other team's coming up with some ultimates as well, especially with the time left to go here. Amp coming out. I mean, Amplify investing heavily into this. They need to find more of value from it.
Yeah, now beat on the other side of things, it's going to be so hard to sustain through this. Everyone's got to die over on this point. Gap has the flux ready to go, but someone's going to have to swap for a touch here. It might have to be J-Man. Yeah, over to the Tracer, so Gap can keep that flux.
Yeah, and Gap's going to immediately have to hit that flux coming out of the spawn door. J-Man gets a touch. I mean, again, that beat from Ewan, I think, was a little bit too aggressively there. We talked about how aggressive this Amplify team was in that first map. They just weren't able to keep it up there, and I think it comes back to bite them here.
Yeah, unfortunately so, and this is looking a little rough. Dion does go down, though, but unfortunately, I think they're too surrounded at this point. Manually gets rid of 2. Kiwi able to help finish them off. Greasy Cat wants to stay a little while longer, but it's just Ewan last one on the board. They will finish with time on the clock. 7 seconds to speak of, and that 7 seconds, it could be a world of a distance.
Yeah, huge world of a difference. I mean, just completing the map with time is always important, especially on a map like King's Row, one that me and you talk about a lot of just like, hey, it's been in the game now for, well, ever. And this is a map that every team knows. Every team feels confident on winning here. That is why Dreamland decided to bring us to this map. 7 seconds is a big difference maker, because that could be the difference between, hey, maybe a fight, maybe not a fight, maybe a last-second touch if we do go to overtime. But, I mean, just what a round there for Dreamland. Even though Amplify was able to whittle down that time bank, Dreamland looked like the better team there, showing us why, again, they are undefeated here so far this season, trying to make sure they don't get handed their first loss here tonight. But, Hunter, I mean, Dion Graveyard, over 20 kills, Manually sitting at 19 elims. I mean, those 3 are playing incredibly, and those are the 3 you really want to be finding all those elims right there. That's your DPS line in your tank. You look at the other side, I mean, it's Gap and J-Man with the most, with 12 each. Ewan, 11, is out elimming Biz at the moment here.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. I mean, both of the tanks putting up insane damage numbers as well. I mean, averaging together about 10k, both mitigating about 12k each. It's been crazy. It's been very back and forth between them in this instance. But we'll see how it continues. The Double Sigma is back up online. J-Man starting out over on the Widow. Wants to try to find a shot. Unfortunately, just a body shot is back over to the Hanzo. Maybe? Yeah.
Going over to the Hanzo here is good. And we know how good of a hit scan J-Man is. Looks like they're also going to be just making the swap to the Ashe instead. I like it a little bit more. Coach Gun, Dynamite, going to be able to at least get some dot damage and be able to push people away. Gives them an escape tool here. But you see already Ewan trying to get a little bit aggressively here, as well as Gap. Gap not going to be able to jump the Gap right there. Has to just go through the building.
Yep, still everyone's going to be able to get through alive, so you get another opportunity here to make a little something happen. But you're going to see that all-out aggression, trying to run Dion down. Dion, really rough situation, is going to have that barrier just up in time. Gap, though, so low, and unfortunately, while you do get rid of manually, this is not going to work out. J-Man picked off over on the side, and eventually, we'll see the cleanup come through here, and that takes away a solid minute right there as Crazy Cat gets a bit of staggering.
Yeah, but you found some picks there. If you're Amplify, yeah, granted, it won't really mean much because Crazy Cat and Biz not going to be here very quickly, so both teams are going to be able to kind of regroup here. But you already see Gap just pushing up, trying to get rid of Graveyard here, not going to be able to as they go into the ice block. But still, if you're Amplify, you need to get something going towards point here because you've just been playing around it.
Yeah, J-Man getting pressured out a little bit here, trying to find that right moment. He's getting some of these shots off, but you're trying to get an immortality field out, try to force something in this situation as they're going to try to run through that backside, try to follow up, and hoping to get rid of somebody, but still everyone persistent. Nobody willing to go down though quite yet, but it's you in the first one to go down. The accretion nailing perfectly as one tick has gone through during the process of this fight right here, but they need to be able to finish it up strong with Graveyard. Dion continuing the onslaught. The one tick's all they're going to get.
One tick's all they're going to get, and honestly, that was a little bit of a disjointed fight all around. It just, Dreamland was able to focus in on both Biz and Ewan, find Ewan out first. I mean, so far, it really has seemed this entire round, as Ewan's the first one taken out here, which they have been these first two fights, it really doesn't lend much good to Amplify. You really need Ewan, even though they're playing aggressively, they're your speed, and especially with playing with the Sigma, you're not going to be the fastest hang out on the field, and you have Flux is ready for both of these Sigmas ready to go here. But you need to find something before you get there if you're Amplified, but losing someone is even worse.
Yeah, and J-Man is just taking these absurd angles right now, trying to find a little something. Bob can be thrown in. Gap getting just obliterated. There's no other way to put it. Taken out. Biz trying to run for the hills. Unfortunately, double connection right there. And now with a minute 15 left on the clock, things not looking great.
Not at all, especially getting rid of both of your DPS ultimates right there for Amplify, not really finding anything with them. Yeah, you got rid of Beat, but you still look at the other side, Blizzard, their own overclock, their own flux. I mean, you're kind of looking up a very steep incline at the moment right now for Amplify. You need to find some way to get up it. And I don't know if you guys, I don't know if they have any goats on their side to be able to climb up those almost 90-degree walls.
Yeah, but mainly down. B comes up on line. Graveyard hoping to find a little something with this freeze. Unfortunately, no one caught out. It's just going to be a little bit of stall as eventually this point will be taken over. Amplify going to be able to continue moving with about 3 minutes on the clock. And the bright side is majority of the members do not get the forward spawns.
Oh, I guess they found those goats to climb up that 90-degree incline. I'm gonna be honest, Hunter. It seems like anytime I try to make an analogy to something, the other team immediately just proves me wrong. Almost instantly so far tonight. But hey, if you're Amplified, you found a way to get through that. It really looked like they were not gonna be able to because it seemed like Dreamland had figured them out. But now you get on a street phase. You're trying to push up as far as you can because you do not want to lose a fight and immediately be right back at Arches. But here's the thing, Amp Matrix for Kiwi, that has been a fight winner for this Dreamland team all series long here.
100% it has. Now Flux ready to come through. He's going on the other side as well. Want to try to find some follow-up, but Immortality Field going to be there and well. Biz, Freeze going to be thrown out there, is going to catch directly over on the Dion. Frozen to take it care. Kiwi not able to keep them up. And eventually, the cleanup should come and through a little bit more as Graveyard. Kiwi still hanging around, but inevitably finished up a critical fight for Amplify to win.
And hey, you got rid of both Flux, you got rid of the Amp Matrix. Like I said, that's normally been a fight winner for Dreamland throughout this entire series. The fact that you won that fight there is huge. Yeah, you have to invest some of your own ultimates at the same time, but you're in a really good spot now. You have to go, but the problem is you have to be aggressive here, which is one thing they have been doing good all series long, but not this map. You need to be able to find someone early out here. Dion might be the one you're really looking for, considering they're low and already just ducking around corners to make sure they don't get taken out early.
Yep, gonna let this one rip early. 2 meters left to go. Has to play carefully. Beat gonna be expended to get in here. Creature not gonna catch on to anybody directly, but unfortunately, it's a weird spot to be if you're facing Gap right now. But J-Man thinks this is a winnable one. Going to move in with that all-out aggression that we have seen. Unfortunately, it's not quite going their way right here. He's trying to find something for J-Man. Unfortunately, it's a whole lot of nothing here. It's minute 15 once again. They go for it, don't get it, and there is a pause.
Huh.
Interesting. I don't know who.
Well, we'll probably figure it out here in a moment if it is someone. But I mean, again, Amplify has looked. It's been kind of a coin flip every time we've seen Amplify so far this entire round, where they look good or look bad, and sometimes it looks like connection is used from someone on the side of Amplify, as we're being told by Ewan. But it looks like the biggest problem right now is there seems to be a plan, but you just saw right there from Amplify. That was two ultimates, two really big ultimates that came out for them there, and they found no one off it. Yeah, you got the beat out from the other side, but still, you're looking for something there. They just couldn't find anything. The overclock did not find anything. J-Man normally really good with those. The amp mix stuff from Crazy Cat. The fact that that didn't find anything, yeah, there's a lot that was going in favor for Dreamland there. Dion, their grasp was able to eat up a lot of it. Beat coming out there from NY allowed that team to kind of just walk through it and really try to force a map flip there, which the only person who was able to actually take any advantage of that was Gap, which is not necessarily enough in a moment like that. And now you're in this really, really rough spot on Kings Row where you have this long, long walk back to the cart.
Yeah, that's what's so tough about this. In a situation with a minute on the clock, you could argue you could get 3 fights in, but this situation, you are going to get 2 at best. And the thing is that you are not motivated to move up super aggressively either if you are Dreamland, because you have 0 reason to in this situation. You just don't.
Yeah, you don't. You can play back here and look what they have. They have 3 ultimates going off online here. Yeah, same thing could be said here for Amplify as well, but they're already manually investing their overclock here, looking to try to find something with it. I think this one might be a dud as well.
Yeah, Biz is caught momentarily, but yeah, J-Man managed to find the pick right there. Flux is going to be given. It's only going to catch on to 1. Freeze is going to be available. The Cryo going to be able to stop things momentarily, but it should reasonably be enough. NY super low, but I think, yeah, this is certainly going to be enough at this stage of the game. Dion thrown back out to the Wolves. J-Man able to get 3 to finish it off, and now 1:45 on the clock, finishing the map. And hey, you got some decent ultimates to get you close.
Yeah, I mean, you have Blizzard, you have Beat, you're going to have your own Amp Matrix here pretty soon, but you look at the other side, Blizzard, Amp Matrix, Flux, not that far away from their own Beat, so Dreamland's still in a good spot here, especially if you can win a fight. It really eats away at the time back and putting Amplify into probably what could be considered last fight territory at any point here, but still, you're just looking for a good start here. Blizzard already out from Biz as they look to try to find someone, and they do find Dion.
Yeah, Dion frozen out. Graveyard is a little separated, but Freeze comes through, and mind you, no one's on the cart during this duration. Now finally getting bodies moving, and now, yeah, good accretion over onto Graveyard, trying to push everybody out. The wall is there to separate them away. Still need to be able to find a finish. They're both sustaining in here, but eventually they're going to be finished off. You're going to get like maybe one more touch coming through here. Then NY barely gets the beat out. Creation gonna miss. Dion's got a shot here. Gets through it. They manages to get rid of Crazy Cat on top of that gap. It's incredibly low in the trenches, and unfortunately, everyone's falling apart one at a time right here. And I think with the cleanup coming in through the graveyard, it's going to come down to one final fight as this is finished off.
And J-Man trying to find one on their way out, not going to be able to do it. I think once you lost Gap in that fight for Amplify, you just need to back out very, very quickly. And you're just kind of wasting time there, and I understand why they kept that fight going, because you really didn't have an option. It was either try to find the quickest way to die or try to back out, and I don't think Dreamland was going to allow that here. However, Manly, the closest one to an ultimate on the side of Dreamland right now. You have a Flux, you have an overclock right now for Amplify, so you're in a good spot here, and at this point, you just want to complete the map.
Yeah, you're going to be able to get Dion in a weird situation. Unfortunately, isn't going to be finished off quite yet. Still in a really weird area. Overtime activated as well. J-Man manually trying to cap this thing off. Manually, especially as the ability, but it's J-Man who's able to get rid of 2 already. Making a 3rd, trying to be the hero this team needs at 100%. They have delivered in strides. They'll keep themselves alive. Overtime online. Only 7 seconds left. But hey, Dex, they have an opportunity to potentially go 2-0 here.
Oh, absolutely, they do. And like I said going into that last fight, Amplify didn't matter anymore. You just need to complete the map. You got that map completion. However, you look at how this round, that last round started for Amplify. It took them a while. It took them a while to get going there. And almost, I think 3 minutes. Well, you don't have that 3-minute opportunity. You don't have the 4 minutes to really get yourself going. You only have a minute. Granted, you will have all the perks, so that could really help them out. And I think that's when you really start to see Amplify start to get going, is when they started to really get those perks here. But same thing's got to be there for Dreamland. However, you started to see the players that for Amplify pop up that you need to. J-Man, Biz, Gap, you really need them to step up there. They really started to even out the kill or the stats when you look at these two teams so far, and really slowing down those three that we saw for Dreamland that first round that really dominated, kind of even it all out here. 7 seconds, Hunter, like I said, could be the difference between maybe a fight, maybe just getting a touch, hoping that you could find someone else to get there and keep the overtime wick burning.
Yeah, that's all you can really hope for in some of these situations. But obviously, you would love to take this one away and take a fight over to that archways, and then it will really propel you into a different situation. But we'll see. Like you said before, it took 3 minutes just to cap it before. Don't have that luxury this time around. J-Man gonna make it over to the Sojourn. Popped off really big on, especially that third point. But Graveyard manually sticking to the tried and trues.
Again, I think Graveyard sticking with the May here is the right move. I mean, you're seeing a mirror match here.
Yeah.
No differences between the teams, and Graveyard, I think, when it came to those right clicks, I think was a little bit better than Biz last round. Gap, though, going to be able to jump the gap this time around, but they don't have the rest of their team up there with them as it's a little bit of a split fight.
Oh, and they try to catch out Ewan right there. Unfortunately, it's just not going to be the case.
Oh.
Unfortunately, cuts off their own Lucio, and while Graveyard gets one on the way out, they're going to have to surrender at least 2 ticks. I think they could realistically recontest here. It would still be really rough.
They could recontest here, especially with Nenwai back in the fray. Same thing with Mana. There will be a recontest here, but will it be worth it?
We're going to find out right now. Dion needs to stay alive. Overtime is activated. Dion sitting at 1 health, just 1 melee away, but gets full cap back. Oh, that amazingly comes through. But still, J-Man trying to keep things rocking and rolling. Has managed to get rid of 2 already. Rough situation to be in. Nenwai trying to go to the backside. Freeze is going to be online. It's directly over on the point. People are actually sustaining, but it's Crazy Gap finishing off. Biz staying on the point. There you go to get this thing rolling, and more than half the team not getting good respawns. That archway secured.
Yeah, this is one of those moments right now. If you're Amplify, I think you throw 3 members on the cart just to try to get this going as far as you possibly can here, because you're going to see Dreamland come out here very, very quickly. It doesn't matter if they have their full team. They're going to try to slow this cart down as much as they possibly can. However, you look at Amplify here. Amp Matrix, close to a Blizzard, close to a beat. You have ultimates right now that could really help you continue this push here very, very quickly. You're going to have them right there as well for Dreamland, but they are going to be about a second behind, and that's where, if you're Amplify, you really just need to push that go button first.
Yeah, I like it. Picked by both. Ewan caught out! That means no freeze available. Dion ends up getting frozen out. Problem is, you still need to be able to find a follow-up right here. Ewan has to hurry back, because if this walk comes online for Dion, it could be all done and dusted. But again, it's J-Man. Fluxes end up going to be used here. J-Man finishing off another one. And while Dion does get rid of Biz, it's not going to stop the train from rolling. And now they still have the beat.
They still have the beat because Ewan was the first one to fall in that fight. And yeah, we talked about how that could be something that could really hurt them. But it ended up helping them in the end because you had plays there from J-Man, from Gap. Biz now, though, that's the problem. They're going to be swapping over to Sim just to try to get back into this fight here. But you look over now at Dreamland. Overclock, Flux, beat there for them. J-Man's going to need to pop off here big with this overclock. But they have been on fire these past couple fights.
Yeah, gotta keep it going. They've already had a great amount of distance right now. It could go even higher, though, as Dion going to look for a beat, going to come out online. Going to take quite a bit of damage, but Ewan will stay alive this time, but it's Graveyard that's going to fall over. Ewan still extremely low, eventually manually. Finally going to get the better of their counterpart, but Cap has come through. That forward spawn is more than available, and that's what's so devastating. They might start winning out some of these 1v1s, but it might not matter a whole lot. Everybody's so close. Yep, been taken care of. Biz making their way back into the fight. They can re-sustain, and that Cap is nightmare fuel.
I understand why the beat was used there by Nenwai, but it might be an ultimate you want back here now, unless you're able to find a big boop here. I mean, look at what Gap is. Gap's not even back into the fray. They're not even spawned back in. This is a moment now for Dreamland to really push the go button, knowing that Gap's not there, but they're not taking advantage of it.
I don't know why, and now the M-Matrix comes out. You can't do a whole lot, at least at this moment. Realistically, it should have been as simple as throw a freeze on this cart, end the round, and send yourselves merrily packing. But now, here it comes. Now it's directly over on the point. Immortality comes through. No cleanse available, though, so that will inevitably be the end. But there's no Amplify fan in the house that isn't satisfied with that Cap halfway through the final point. That is incredible.
Yeah, Hunter, we always kind of talk about on this map where just getting a tick on the first point is good. capping the first point's great. Getting it through arches is amazing. If you get anything past that, it's just added bonus. You got the second point, you're almost completed the map here. I mean, that's just incredible. Really, it is. That's almost the best thing that you could have asked for there if you're Amplify. The only better thing was just, hey, completing the map. But you got far. That's the thing. You give yourself now time here to say, hey, we can lose the first point. They won't get any time for capping it. They won't get any time for capping the first point. Hell, they won't get any time for capping the second point. You give yourself options here. You give yourself time to say, hey, let's just build up to all 5 ultimates and then use them all at once, because you know Dreamland will not be able to do that. They're going to have to use ultimates when they get them, essentially, to keep fights going their way.
Yeah, 100%. And this is going to take a lot to get through in this situation. It took so much for Amplify to get through, and now it's going to take the world for Dreamland to get through. I'll talk about the stats after the game because they are already rather insane. I want to see how much more insane they can get, but manually back over on this Bastion has been very hit or miss, but a situation like this where you need to try to get through this first point as soon as you can, I don't blame them. And with the sim, they might TP directly to high.
TP directly to the high, or they might just try to TP. Yeah, they're going to TP directly to high, but again, you're looking for a little bit more here. And if you're Amplify, you really, again, like I said, you don't have to do anything. Yeah, you would like to end this as fast as you can, but you can just start rotating around. It really comes down to Dreamland to make the first move towards point.
100% it does. And now, nice rocks onto Gap right there. Is going to stop things momentarily. You're going to catch out Biz, though. It is a nice catch out. Yeah, and that's an excellent TP. And now, with this being the case, all Gap can do is just fall down over on the cart. Honestly, everyone's going to die over on this cart. And the fact that everybody dies on this cart, though, Dex, means that everybody's going to get the forward spawns and be able to get test on this choke right here.
Yeah. And again, that's what I talked about. Amplify had this luxury now that they could pick and choose. They could play fast, they could play aggressive, they could give up this first point and really not worry about it. But now, I mean, they're going to cap this point and immediately be in overtime. You're at arches. This is very difficult. And right now, losing someone like manually early who's already below 50%, yeah, they got some healing, but you do not want to lose. It's actually a main source of damage right now, especially for someone like Gap and Ewan, who are playing very, very aggressively here. Losing your Bastion first would almost be backbreaking.
Yeah, but you're able to get this card to a point where you don't have that too much aggression, but you are worried about this ult economy right now. Kiwi, obviously way ahead of Faceit as of this very moment. Danger with the Matrix would be absolutely massive. A wall coming through is going to cause a little bit of separation. You cannot go down if you're Dion right here. You're taking a ton of sustain. You're going to be stunned out, but is able to sustain a moment longer, and Matrix right around the corner. Still not going to be used quite yet, though. Waiting for the correct opportunity. It's going to be thrown down sideways. It's in such an awkward area. B comes up online. Everything in the kitchen sink being thrown in. But it's Gap finishing things up for the squad, trying to find the last couple of things. But it's still a 4v4. They're still managing to sustain over on the point. And yet, everyone beginning to fall apart. Crazy Cat goes down. Gap is running out of sustain. You're getting all of this damage. Unfortunately, it is not resulting in picks. So Dreamland, for the time being, will keep this going.
They will keep it going, but one thing I have to like about Amplify there, they didn't use all their ultimates. They had chances to. They had multiple chances to. But they understand they still have this second point that they can give up before they really have to start to worry. And you look at the other side now, Dreamland only has a photon barrier, which, yeah, something like Blizzard could be affected by. Something like Overclock could be affected by. Beat could be affected by a little bit, I believe. But if you're Amplify, you feel confident right now. You feel like you're in a really good spot here. You're going to be able to come back out. And all you need really here, Hunter, is one pick.
Yeah. And you could see a lot of aggression with the tutorials they have right here. J-Man is going to go aggressive right here, try to get somebody out. It's going to force that out. And now you can back up.
Blizzard got canceled.
Wait, yeah, you're totally right. Blizzard gone. Beat had to be used, and now you're in a dangerous scenario unless you find the necessary pick here. Graveyard gets low. Mortality Field has to be used. Dion extremely low. Graveyard too. But both of them still alive. Being healed up back to max. Gap is down. And now J-Man has to go and die over on the point. And this is getting scary.
And now the tables have absolutely been flipped here. That Blizzard from Biz was gonna be your ticket to victory here for Amplify. Look at Dreamland now. Artillery, Amp Matrix, not that far away from Flux, not that far away from Beat. They are in the driver's seat, but there is something that could definitely happen here right now for Amplify that could win the map. Sig 9. Gap does have that Flux ready to go, but they need to hold on to it for the perfect moment.
Yeah, the perfect moment appears to be right now. It's going to pull people off. Almost 6 from off the graveyard. Into going down artillery strike B. Everything has been thrown, and now it's Crazy Cat, who just needs to stay in a second longer. Unfortunately, doesn't keep anybody alive. Dies as well. Gap has to die on the point as well. Does manage to get rid of manually at the very least, but now Ewan, J-Man both in the back with the stall. They're trying to fly around, trying to get something. Unfortunately, no one's really stalling this car. They're staying alive, but nobody is stalling out. They have to hurry to try to get back, but with Ewan and Crazy Cat, the only people trying to make their way back, Gap, trying to make their way back over on the Doomfist. He's gonna try to touch one final time, but somehow, some way, Dreamland bring it back.
And it really all comes down to Business Blizzard being canceled out. Again, like I said, that was the thing they were really saying, like, hey, that is gonna be our bread and butter. We're gonna throw it right there in that very tight corridors of Street's face. Canceled out. Everything just went wrong for them after that. Give it credit to Dreamland there. I mean, they had what probably considered themselves to be a little bit of an abysmal defense there on that overtime round. But offense, they somehow found ways. They really did. And you have to give them a lot of credit for that, because there are some times when you allow a team to push that far where you yourself as a team might just say, like, are you guys just ready to go next here? Because it could have been what Dreamland was already talking about there. But no, they locked in, and man, did they catch every break possible.
Yeah, you said it yourself, that Blizzard going away, that was it. That is the straw that broke the camel's back at that point. And that's really rough to obviously deal with. I don't blame Gap for trying to make the play with the Flux. I think honestly it was the right call given the situation. Literally, I think like a fifth of a second more, and that point is given up. But it's a rough situation, and I think the roughest part about this is, yeah, it's a map loss, but it feels like it's, no pun intended, it is amplified a little bit. That game, from just the in-game rounds, 25 minutes long. And
it's almost 10 o'clock. The series started at 9.
It's been 2 maps, and it's about to be 10 o'clock. And by the way, I didn't say it before, but Dion and manually, I think, 50 elims apiece, by the way. There were
as well.
3 people with 50 plus elims. There were supports that had nearly 30,000 healing.
Like,
Kiwi got there. It's that, like, I'm not. This is one of the best maps I've seen in a long time. Like, my God.
Yeah, it's what Kings Row brings a lot of times. Back and forth, insane rounds. I mean, 3 people with over 50 elims on Dreamland. The lowest amount of elims in the entire lobby was 26 from Crazy Cat. But again, a lot of times 26 elims is sometimes the most you get in a map on some maps. I mean, especially in our series earlier tonight, 26 might have been the leader in every map we saw. But this was just so back and forth. I think the DPS lines really stood up there. I think Dreamland, again, being a little bit more consistent there throughout that entire map was a big difference. Again, just Dion. I think they've been excellent throughout the night here. They struggled a little bit on that first map, and I'm going to say might be the reason why they ended up losing it. But they really bounced back here on this map. But you, again, so close, so back and forth. I don't think Amplify really made any mistakes. The Blizzard being canceled out because I believe they got hit by the accretion from Dion there. That's not necessarily a mistake by Biz. That is just an excellent play by Dion, which ended up being the reason that Dreamland won that map.
Yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate more than anything else. In a scenario like that where, I mean, you are that close to making it happen, and it falls apart like that. It's rough, but going forward, it is about bouncing back from that moment. Because it's simple to say all maps are created equal, but it's different when we have a push come online and you finish it in 7 minutes compared to spending nearly half an hour on one map. It's like rallies when you look at things like tennis and volleyball. The longer it goes on, the more that point has weight to it. So it's just on Amplify to pretty much hit the mental reset, to be able to take a step back, realize, hey, we know what we're capable of, we know what we need to do in the situation, and just readjust.
Yeah, absolutely. We do know what our third map is, though. Amplify could be bringing us to a map that Hunter, me and you a little bit earlier tonight saw completed in about 2 minutes and 37 seconds. We'll be heading to Runasapi for our third map of the night. Looks like it will be Amplify banning out the Bastion while Dreamland banning out the Zarya. So this could be really interesting. We have yet to see Amplify play. Actually, no, we've seen him play Sigma, but it seems like Gap really prefers to play that Zarya almost anytime they possibly can. Going onto this map, Sigma's not necessarily unheard of, but I would think maybe there's some better options that are left on the table still.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, I do agree, but if the 2 maps that we've seen so far have been any indication, this is a game that has every right to go to a map 5, and it's every right for the players to believe that that's going to be the case and plan accordingly, especially with it being the 3rd map. Now, obviously, this might go a particular way now that Amplify or Dreamland may be forced to make that very critical ban out, but I think these are both relatively safe, all things considered. You are able to force the Bastion away, which I think has, well, it has been hit and miss. I think it was really effective when it needed to be. So manually, see what they got on now. It could be the Tracer. We might see a Tracer 1v1 potentially, but no, manually over on that Sojourn, at least momentarily, as Dion back over to the Ramatra.
Well, I mean, the Bastion, like I've said, a lot of damage comes from the Bastion, but the one thing I really negated to talk about with Bastion is just the grenade. The grenade does, I think, a lot more damage than really a lot of people understand it does. And again, I think the bounce, the fact that it sticks to people as well, if it lands on them, is a huge thing. Because if it just bounced off of people, you would see it wouldn't have that much value. But the fact that it stuck to people really did help out there. But I like the difference in competition we're seeing come out here. Both these teams really want to be in your face, but it does seem like Dreamland got to be a little bit more proactive here, to be kind of pokey, at least at the start of these fights. Biz, though, back over on the Vendetta. We saw it work for them really well on the first map. But after that first sub point, because then they really start just to kind of lock down that aggressive playstyle, but no bubbles to save them this time. That's going to be a big thing. The shouts from Gap going to have to keep him alive in a lot of times.
Gap has been sustained right here. Unfortunately, he's just getting bulldozed through, but Mega Health Pack is still available, unfortunately, and NY manually able to finish bodies off. You're able to get rid of Graveyard, so you have, like, some chance here. Unfortunately, Gap just doesn't have the sustained shout not there on time, so eventually, manually, gonna help clear things out. Park gonna start moving here for Dreamland, and at the very least, Kiwi already 75% of the way.
And again, I think the difference in the compositions here is the fact that Biz still wants to play aggressively on this Vendetta, and there's no bubble. There's only shout. Gap used shout a little bit early, put both of them into a bad spot, and you want to play aggressively. The Graveyard on this maze is going to be able to section them off away from their team, and that's going to be something that Amplify is going to have to really, really correct here quickly here, or at least be able to adapt to it pretty well. But like you said, Ultimate's about to be online here for Dreamland. They can really start to speed up this series here now if they find the first pick.
Camp Graveyard. Freeze over on the side. Eventually going to get plenty of backup, by the way, but now this rush is going to be ready. Ewan is dead on top of that, and now Gab is trying to run in to get something, but manually finishing off body after body. Gab eventually stems the bleeding, but stemming is the accurate work, because eventually they're going to be finished off as well. And J-Man hoping to find something. Unfortunately, it's not going to be the case, and now, with everybody dying this late, this cap feels all but confirmed.
I mean, Biz could come back out and try to sacrifice their body for maybe 4 seconds, but it looks like they're just going to fall back. And, I mean, me and you see this a lot on this map. It seems like the map where we normally see someone cap the first 4 spawns in about 2.5 minutes, and Dreamland doing just that here, but no ultimates invested there by Dreamland in that first fight, or in that last fight there. Puts them in a really good spot now, about to have all 5, while Biz kind of lacking behind the rest of their team, but you have ultimates on the other side here for Amplify that if you use them, you can definitely find value here early on with the Orbital Ray coming out first.
Yeah, but to be fair, they're getting some level of value. It's forcing everybody out, but you might value this fight still winnable if you can keep Dion up. Unfortunately, you're not able to in this scenario, so eventually, first team fight win coming through here for Amplify, but still, everyone gonna get the, well actually no, Graveyard is gonna miss out on forward spawns.
And that's actually going to slow down Dreamland here for a brief moment, because Blizzard could have been something that if they got those forward spawns and come out very quickly, try to use it almost instantly, try to force out some other ultimates there from Amplify. Ones that I would assume they probably think they have, like Ewan's beat, but would have been something that I don't think you would have seen the beat come out there, because Ewan just doesn't have it yet. Now Ewan's going to be able to kind of build that up here, and it's going to be perfect for whenever Dion decides to use an Amplify, or that Annihilation. Yeah,
Captain's been taken care of. Dion has finished off 2 people already. Maybe 35 minutes, which to be fair, all things not bad, but now this is about breaking the curse of what is 50-50 Overwatch, and when you are ahead on push, there is nothing stronger than 50-50 Overwatch.
Yeah, absolutely, but I think it's a little bit too early to talk about 50-50 Overwatch, because normally we start talking about it when the team has those forward spawns and has a decent enough lead after that. Look at what we're seeing here, though. Swaps coming out from Amplify. Gap going over to this Orisa. I like this swap. A little bit more sustainability allows them to actually face Dion a little bit better and just be able to tank a lot more damage. The Jungle Queen, yeah, can do the same thing, but rely a little bit more on your supports there, keep them up and alive in some of these situations. Biz, though, I think once they use their ultimate, you might be seeing them make a swap as well. I don't think the Vendetta really plays well with Orisa.
Yeah, I don't really think it does either. We'll obviously see momentarily what the situation is going to be, but slowly trying to roll the other way right now. But even then, manually, of all people get taken care of. Crazy Cat getting these going, and Big able to shut down 2 with that one. And eventually, gonna get through once again, take this other way. Remember, no forward spawns were even activated, so everyone else way in the back.
And I'm not gonna say that was me cursing Dreamland there by saying I don't think the Vendetta was necessarily gonna work well with the Orisa because Biz was just so far forward. But I mean, this is what you need if you're gonna stick with this Vendetta. Them being able to play in this backline on their own and find picks out there, and you already see them trying to find Nenwai out here pretty early on.
Yep, Yuan has the feet ready to go, is going to use it in immediate response. Biz is taken care of, but Kiwi directly going to follow, and now with no ultimates really remaining quite yet, Crazy Cat is going to have a rush ready, but I think, I was going to say with only 3 left, I might not take this attempt right here. You try to go for the assassination, it doesn't work out. You push up as far as you possibly can, but Gap is eventually going to get burnt away. As, I mean, at the end of the day, still, I think you managed to get the forward spawns in the situation, so everybody's going to get back.
Yeah, you caught the bus if you're Gap, but that's very, very lucky that you caught that bus. Because you're going to have your own Terror Surge here. The only thing the other side's going to have might be a beat, but it will definitely have the overclock, which you can tank a couple of those shots if you're Gap, and that's exactly what you want Gap to be doing, taking some shots, buying some time. But again, Biz, I think, is someone you really have to be watching out for here. They're kind of playing off on their own, just taking away attention from their team.
Yeah, and they're going to get moved off the side! Oh, no! That's devastating. You win King of Boots today, as eventually we should be able to sustain. You still have Nenwai and Dion. Eventually, yeah, they just have to get out and resustain. But can you potentially cap this here is the question.
You have the forward spawns already. You might be able to take the lead, honestly.
Yeah, but they're going to pull back. Everyone's backbuilding about Dion. I think it's the right call to hit the Rick Group instead.
It is. I would have loved to see Amplify be aggressive because that's what they've really been all night long. But Nenwai having that beat, I think, was a little bit something that was too much for them, knowing that Nenwai probably had it, knowing you really had nothing. J-Man just came up to their own overclock. This is an overclock, if you're both Amplify and J-Man, that needs to find at least one. Give your team some opening. Hey, you got beat out. I think you'll take that.
Yeah, and J-Man's still kind of hanging around in the back line here. Unfortunately, Dion has already finished off one. And while you trade out manually, and that's great and all, Ewan's still hanging around as well. Unfortunately, you need to find these shots. Unfortunately, not quite going to plan. As eventually going to be finished off, Dion will be able to clean things up as well. Crazy Cat is doing a really good job of staying in this situation, but inevitably, it's going to go back their way. But this is Amplify getting closer and closer to taking this back every single time.
Yeah, but Amplify's in a little bit of an awkward spot here. You have Gap and Biz trying to just buy some space, but you really need support too, especially for Orisa. But I mean, they're doing a good job at least keeping it in an area where if you can get everyone regrouped here for Amplify, you can really take a team fight and have some ultimates. Granted, you're gonna be running into a lot of ultimates on the other side as well, but you're gonna have some to throw out for your own self as well. Nice kill there.
Yeah, J-Man getting the better of manually in this exchange right here, but still, everything is being invested right here. They're going to go in. J-Man is going to get caught up, but still, it's the rest of Dion's team that's starting to fall apart, but the investment with the Annihilation trying to bring them back around. Wrong situation. Ewan goes for something. I don't know quite what there, but now, forward spawns activated again. Everyone's going to be cleaned out, though, so eventually, forward spawns get everybody back in time, but again, they can't quite finish the job.
Yep, again, just find some way to catch the bus right there. They're going to be able to come back in here very quickly. And you look at Amplify here with their ultimates. They're in a really good spot here. If they can really force this fight back down to the capture point here for them, it could be something where they could easily take the lead just with the ultimates they have here. But you need to find something here early. They need one pick to go their way. And I'm looking at J-Man, I'm looking at Biz. They need to be the ones to find it, but no, a big gap.
And that is devastating right there. Dion, if Dion goes down, this is inevitable that this is going to go through. Kiwi somehow gets the better of J-Man, but with that pick right there, the forward spawns still there. They are going to take the lead after being behind this entire time.
Yeah, and I mean, a minute 15 left to go, and Hunter, I feel like the bot hasn't been on the other side of the map here since about the 6-minute mark. I mean, Amplify's done a really good job just kind of controlling the space and really just being able to take it, even though they finally just got the lead right now. Dreamland has struggled with it, and yeah, they're coming up some ultimates here, but if you're Amplify, you're just trying to slow down the pace of this. You want this to be something that drags out for a very, very long time. Under a minute to go. It's going to be Dreamland that starts getting desperate here.
Yeah, Ewan is going to get taken down. Biz not able to find anything either, so now it's simply die over on this card. Gap managed to get one, but Cap is in a bit of an awkward situation. Gaps, though, never mind, managed to get rid of another. Unfortunately, he's going to have to die late on the point, and I think with that right there, Gap's going to be close, but I think they're going to miss out.
They are going to miss the bus, I believe, by basically a second. Actually.
Wait, did they sustain it
no.
in time?
They sustained it. They got there in time. A huge play by Ewan to get back there. And honestly, if you're Dreamland, that should be something that never happens. You just made it so much easier now for Amplify.
Yeah, this is dangerous, but still lots of ultimates online. That consumer rush from Iwi could be immediately racing back. Or directly back. Be online. It's going to go back and forth there. J-Man in a row spot, getting all the pressure in the world, eventually taking care of Graveyard, getting rid of two with this Symmetra. And now, with bodies being cleared out, once again, Dex, this is essentially going to come down to one final fight coming up here. With everybody resetting, you should be able to get forward spawns. At least you should.
Yeah, and I mean, it doesn't necessarily matter anymore. One fight left in this one. And we saw it last map. Dreamland was somehow able to claw, scratch, lie, not necessarily cheat their way to winning that last map here. They have two ultimates at their disposal. Nothing ready, though, for Amplify. The beat from Ewan has to come online here. That's going to force them to kind of play a little bit passively here in a spot where we have yet to see Ewan play passively all night long.
And Ewan's got to be able to get this beat out online. Cap, though, is so incredibly low, and Gap is going to fall over. And now Ewan doesn't get the beat on in time, and again, so close, but no cigar from Amplify. Dreamland goes up 2-1 in the series, and that, again, that is a back-breaking defeat there for Amplify. They're keeping it close, but having those ults at the very end, I mean, that was gonna solidify the deal right there.
Yeah, absolutely. And Hunter, let's look at it like this. This could be a 3-0 right now for either one of these teams. I mean, you go back to map one dominant point by one team, one dominant point by the other, and then the third one was back and forth and back and forth. King's Row, back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And I didn't expect to see that last map go back to the other side, because like I said, Dreamland had really not been able to get the bot to the other side of the map, I think since at least before we hit the halfway mark in that map. I mean, they clawed their way to another victory again, and right now you're starting to see why this team is undefeated. They are resilient. They never give up. They have the right moves, it seems, every time. Granted, a couple of big plays really helped them on King's Row, but that's what you need sometimes. You just need one player to make a huge play. You go back to King's Row, was Dion appreciating the Biz who was throwing out their Blizzard, canceling that ultimate. That map there, I thought when we saw Ewan keep that touch there to keep the forward spawns, that it was going to put Amplify in such a good spot. I kind of think it backfired on them a little bit.
Yeah,
weirdly enough.
Yeah, ultimately, I feel like it did, but it's the same situation Amplify just had to go through. You take a very, very close loss, and now you have to bounce back from it. I think they did a good job bouncing back from it, but they had to fight from behind essentially the entire time. But they are deciding to get rid of that linchpin at last. Symmetra has been banned out by Amplify. Honestly, with this potentially being the last map, I think getting rid of Symmetra here, I think it's justified. I think it has done enough damage. I think Shibali is a close knit map enough to really justify it.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially since we have seen Dreamland throughout the series here tonight really execute well with the sim TPs. Granted, they've had their unfortunate times. You can go back to second point on Shimbali, or not, my bad, not Shimbali, Nepal, where that entire point really started to fall apart because of a TP where Dion was 1 foot too far back and ended up just TPing to their own death, and they were never really able to recover. But King's Row, we saw the TPs there find a lot of value. And again, Sim right now in EMEA might be one of the most go-to DPS heroes, at least in competitive. NA, we haven't necessarily seen that. We've seen teams try it and fail with it, I feel like, mostly here. Dreamland, I think they've found that happy medium where, hey, it's still doing enough for them to really justify using it, but they can always make the swap to something else. I think now that's banned out, it's going to be really interesting to see, because I think Shimbali does have some really good TP spots for Sim. Getting rid of her here is really, really smart by Amplify.
Yeah, I think it's really smart. You get it done here. I think it puts you in a really good position, and now I don't know which route you want to go, but apparently they knew pretty well which route they wanted to go. The Kiriko has been banned out here, which is going to make things really interesting, because we've already seen a game at King's Row that didn't have a Kiriko. We had Baptiste essentially the entire time from both sides, so I imagine we're falling back to that dynamic with a Bap Lucio instead of a Kiri Lucio. Now, how well is that going to work out for either squads? I don't know, but I think that is just supreme trust right there in Kiwi to win the Baptiste 1v1.
Absolutely, and I think we could see something like we go back to map 1 for Amplify. We could see him go back to playing that double speed composition with the Juno and Lucio here. Ewan, I mean, they've shown us a couple other supports throughout the night, but it's been mostly in desperation for them. We know they'll be sticking with that Lucio. And I think you did say it right. I think it will be that Baptiste that comes out for both sides, that mirror. Again, a lot of sustainability. I feel like that has really helped out both teams throughout this entire night here. But the tank, I think, is going to be a very interesting thing. Do we see the Zarya come back out? It looks like, yes, that's going to be the case for Amplify. They have time to swap because they are in spawn. But on the other side, Dion did show the Ramatra for a brief moment before going over to the Sigma. I like that here on this map. I think Sigma finds a decent amount of value being able to kind of bounce their projectile or bounce their left clicks around walls. The deployable shield, the grasp, gives just a lot of utility here for Sigma to really play around. Manly, though, back out on the Bastion. Remember, Bastion was banned out last map. A lot of damage in a short amount of time. That's what you're really looking for here for Manually.
Yeah, 100%. And we're going to see everybody head over. Biz back over on the Vendetta. Crazy Cat might speed out for this first fight, potentially. I think they might try to go for a really fast approach onto this high ground, but to be fair, that's going to be really tough to do into a May Bastion. I mean, unbelievably tough.
Oh, absolutely. Unbelievably tough here, but we're seeing that double speed come back out here from Amplify. They want to try to be fast. They want to try to catch Dreamland off on their toes here, but the Ice Wall coming out there almost catches Gap completely cut off.
Yeah, Gap has to both bubbles, but also gets a ton of that charge, by the way. Got up to 90%, but Faze, unfortunately, not able to help right there. Bubble's going to go through. You need to try to find at least one person here to make this worthwhile. Graveyard, incredibly low, finds the right click to make it happen. And now everyone trying to hide away. Bubble been used, unfortunately, for Gap. That charge, it's nice. Unfortunately, he's still alive somehow, by the way. Eventually going to be finished off. This is a lot of time that has been used right here. Kiwi being killed would be massive. Unfortunately, Kiwi hides away. Barely stays alive, and that's so... Never mind.
It barely stays alive, but look at where the card is right now, Hunter. It's in a really rough spot, honestly. I think for both teams, it's far enough away to where if you are Dreamland, you could still play that first corner, but you're not. You're going to fall back a little bit. Instead, just play second corner, which you can easily rotate away from. And now, if you Amplify, you will have to commit your whole team to this card. You cannot have anyone kind of, go off on their own, which kind of shuts down Biz for the brief moment, other than the fact that Biz is almost dead.
Yeah, Crazy Cat, though, is the first to go down, and now... I mean, he's doing everything in the situation, and now Kiwi going to best. That thing is really far forward, though, all they consider. Still, this fight is going to be theirs to win. Kiwi gets a bit of pressure again, but stays alive. And to be fair, I guess you don't hate at the end of the day. You invested early. You're stopping the momentum more and more. You want this Amplify team to feel this pressure.
Yeah, and look, you're already pushing up a little bit here. You have Flux, you have Beat, so you could try to play a little bit aggressively here if you are Dreamland, but that hasn't been their forte. That hasn't been their MO this entire night. They've been one that has been really smart, very calculated with their moves there, and manually land that grenade, almost takes care of J-Man very quickly, but you now look at Amplify, Grab, Dragons. We talked about that combo. We saw it a couple times earlier on. And Blizz, Crazy Cat, Ewan, not that far away. I mean, you could see the full house come out here for Amplify at any moment to try to break through this Dreamland hold.
Yeah, remember, Grab Dragon is very much available. trying to find something with the block. Catches on the one person. Crazy Cat is caught. Grab Dragon though comes through. J-Man's gonna get rid of 3 in the end though. That's what you needed. First point going to be Cap. That combo is deadly. And Nenwai unfortunately not able to respond with the beat.
You gotta love the classics, honey. You gotta love the classics. And that's exactly what has really propelled Amplify in a lot of these fights. But look at Dreamland coming out. They still want to say like, hey, you might have first point, but you're gonna have to take a lot more to get past first point.
Yeah, eventually they will back out a little bit here though, but they still have so much damage in a tight area. But the problem is that Crazy Cat is such a big threat here. This orbital strike might not be stronger in any location, but Fizz goes down really early. Beat is also invested without them there. They are doubling down, thinking this will be winnable. And to be fair, and they're all right, it might just be, but Ewan is in the backline once again, and Gab just doesn't have the necessary backup to go in here and really do anything. Maybe we'll get some damage, but again, they're going to keep playing this aggressive style up front.
I mean, I don't think you can blame you in there for that aggressive play style. I think the Blizzard just sectioned them off away from the rest of their team. Dion, though, going to be able to find Blizz out here early, and look at where Dreamland is. I mean, we're starting to see a very aggressive Dreamland team, something that we've seen time and time here tonight, but they've normally, like I said, been the team that is calculated, backs up, gives some time, gives some space to Amplify. Right now, they don't want to give that time. They don't want to give that space. This second point is very hard to push through if you're the attacking side. And with how Dreamland's playing this, they understand that. They want to try to make it a little bit easier for them on their own offensive round.
Yeah, and this all-out aggression. I mean, you love to see this on the net. You're going to get 2 picks in this process as well. Nenwai, incredibly low. Stays alive, though, and Gap going to get finished off here momentarily. And, I mean, they're going to keep this up because they have the ults to keep it up, too. They have no reason to stop this aggressive approach.
No, not at all. And I mean, you can slowly see this card starting to fall back to this first point. It's not like it moves faster when it falls back. No, it still moves at the same speed. They're okay playing up here. They're okay just eating away at this time bank and honestly forcing out ultimates from Amplify the moment they get them here at some point. Because like you said, they have the ultimates here to really continue this hold.
Yeah, one gonna get caught. Bubble is there though. It's J-Man gonna let that loose. It's going to put everyone in a rough spot. Manually though, Immortality Field is given momentarily. Back and forth is coming across with manually down. Kiwi on top of that, while you might end up losing this fight, you're in a 2v2 and inevitably everyone's gonna be able to get back in time to push through this, realistically.
And Yapko's still highly charged. They gotta be able to find Graveyard here, so they're gonna finally be able to get back to this card and actually start pushing it. And you understand the situation here now for Amplify. One member on it, they should probably honestly should put a couple more, but they want to be able to at least put some frontline pressure here onto Dreamland because they just need it. Grab though, ready for Gap. Biz not that far away from their ultimate, so they do have some opportunities here to really try to combo some stuff up. But we haven't seen that combo yet tonight. It's only been the grab dragons with J-Man. No more dragons left in them. They only have the rails.
100%. But some quite something to work with, and we're going to see the perhaps come in. Biz invests everything into that. Unfortunately, it doesn't get anything. And now, 25 seconds left. You need to get everybody out of here. You need to reset. Unfortunately, everyone who's going to be able to reasonably touch here is dead. Biz is alive. Gap has to go over to the Doomfist. This is just a touch, by the way. As Gap is not going to be able to do that. They're being forced around. They're lucky to be alive still.
And they're not going to be able to make it to that large health pack right there, which, I mean, they were able to, but like you said, is there going to be a touch? Gap's trying to, but the artillery from them might slow him down. Ewan able to force overtime there, but the Blizzard coming out there now from Graveyard. But you do see Amplify getting back with the beat.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's just not going to matter in this situation. I mean that close spawn, it kills him at the end of the day, and it's really rough to deal with something like that. But you put yourself in perfect position right now. If you are Dreamland, to finish this one out, you have momentum very securely on your side, and now you just have to capitalize on it. The same way before that they were able to capitalize on their own momentum in the last 2 maps. The only difference is that Amplify took them to the very limit. They are in a situation to push through with some momentum and claim this map in this series.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And again, I mean, I'm just looking at the stats from that first round right there, and you can see that it was essentially a one-sided affair. The fact that Amplify got that first point, when you look at these stats, is incredible. I mean, it doesn't look like the stats of a team that capped that first point. Manly themselves, 27 elims. That Bastion, like I said, could be one that's very, very scary if you're not able to shut it down. And there was really no one on the other side that was effective enough to shut down Bastion. Manly has been playing this excellently. Dion has been a standout on this Sigma, a hero that coming into the Night Hunter for both regions, I didn't expect to see a lot of. Pleasantly surprised by how much we have seen the insane old man come out here. But man, has it been impressive so far. And both these teams right now, you see playing Sigma. Gap getting off the Zarya. Maybe should have got off the Zarya last round. I think there were just points where they were really relying on Gap to be able to sling bubbles and just keep that charge high. But just didn't end up working out for them. And oh my goodness, we have a Mercy.
Yeah, momentarily.
For a moment.
It was just to empower Kiwi on this Zenyatta momentarily. You never know. But back to the tried and true, as it should be. But I like this right now. I mean, Gap and Blizz making their appropriate swaps. And this is going to create a big area for sustainability. Well, that is if Blizz was a lot.
Yeah, and we talk about linchpins a lot. May is always going to be a linchpin in a lot of the competitions that she's a part of just because of ice walls and ice block. Losing them first is not it's not a good thing. And this is the worst case scenario here for Amplify. You really need to at least hold them on that first corner for about a minute. You didn't even get 30 seconds.
Yeah, it's really rough in the situation, and now you have to worry about being able to hold this first point right here. Because anything beyond that, it's going to be even more difficult to deal with. You're nowhere close to any of these ultimates either. You're going to see the quick transition over here, the aggression to get rid of Crazy Cat. And this is just Dreamland just doing what they do best, keeping up the aggression, making sure Amplify is constantly on the back foot, and it's paying off in dividends right now.
J-Man will find their one Ewan, though, last one left alive, and this should be the first point going over to Dreamland here. And Hunter, we've talked about all series long. We haven't seen necessarily a dominant map yet. This so far might just be the one that is the dominant one, and Dreamland will gladly take it. Amplify's going to have to lock in here and just play smart. However, the second point, like I have said multiple times, I think is one of the hardest points to push up here because all the defensive team needs to do is win one fight. So if you're Amplify, just find that first pick. The rest will solve itself after that.
Yeah, but that's a really big pick right there. J-Man going to be forced out of the situation into the trenches, does get rid of manually, but everybody's down here below. But Kiwi getting finished off. It's a rough situation for J-Man and Crazy Cat, but J-Man is in a rough situation, is barely alive, but someone needs to come back and be able to touch here, and you have Gap hanging around the high, but then the race around and get a touch.
They might have the flux just to get a touch here, which is difficult. Blizzard coming out here, though, from Graveyard. Gonna freeze Gap!
And now you have to throw your bodies on. No ults available. The freeze is there, but the only thing that's iced is this game. Dreamland take the 3-1 victory at Amplify. They didn't make it easy on them, you can say that much, but I mean, this was lights out here at the very end here from Dreamland. They definitely have their struggles, but when they saw the finish line in front of them, they sprinted to it.
Oh, absolutely. Dreamland, like I said, we are seeing three really close maps. This was the one map that was definitely not close. It was really much one side to Dreamland. The fact that Amplify got that first point was incredible for them. They figured out a way to do it. Granted, you had the old tried and true of Grab Dragon come out to really help them get that. But Dreamland, this just looked like a map for them where they completely understood all the situations and played it perfectly. They understood when to be aggressive. They understood when to back up. That spawn hold after you saw Amplify cap for point one, I think was the biggest difference maker there. If they just fall back and play that first high ground ledge, I think Amplify is going to be able to figure out some way to get around that with that Zarya. Not allowing the Zarya to get time, get space, to really build up those bubbles or build up the charge is exactly what you want to be doing there. I mean, Amplify, again, after that third map, I talked about it. It could have been a 3-0 either way, and if you're Amplify, you can go back to Kings Row, you can go back to Runasapi, and maybe kick yourself over a couple things. I don't think there's anything to really kick yourself over on Kings Row because, again, an incredible play from Dion to cancel out the Blizzard was the difference maker there. Runasapi, though, I think there's that second to last fight you could go back and look at and see where went wrong with that one, because that was the reason why they ended up losing that map there. But Dreamland, I talked about it, clawed, scratched, lied, cheated, anything you want to say about how they ended up winning those first two maps for them. It's just a great performance. Shows you why they are one of the only undefeated teams left in this NA region.
Yeah, it shows it entirely. They were impressive in times where they were pushed down. They rose back up. They rose back up when it mattered the most. A situation where it's already hard enough to be a team and nearly finish Kings Row a second time. It is then something to double down as that team and manage to do even better with just as much time. It's a rough situation, obviously. But Dreamland, they're still undefeated. They're in excellent position. Again, the only undefeated team alongside Nightmare right now. But still, for Amplify, I think while this is, again, it's really rough. Because you said it earlier, this could have been a 3-0. This was a fight in each map away from being a 3-0. Very easily so. I think Amplify got nothing to be ashamed of in this situation. I think the fact they were able to take an undefeated team like this very much to the limit, I think says a lot about them here, and they should be confident moving forward with the rest of their games.
Yeah, like I said, this could easily be a playoff match preview here. And playoffs is a much different beast in the regular season because you have games after it.
Yeah.
Playoffs, though, a little bit of a different story. Yeah, you might have a game after it, you might not. And right now, it's going to be really interesting to see what happens. I think Amplify, like you said, could really hang their heads high. They had excellent performances around. I don't think anyone on their team really struggled throughout the night here. Yeah, I did kind of criticize Gap for a moment there on that last map, but I think the Zarya just wasn't necessarily the right move. But I don't think they did not want to give up on it, and I understand that completely. But you talk about Dreamland here. Again, a lot of games left here in this NA region. Unlike in South America, where a lot of teams were about only a week away from ending the regular season. In North America, though, we're running through the end of the month here with a lot of these teams. And I think the next game here for this Dreamland team is going to be a really, really interesting one. It's going to be Kintsugi. Going to be, I believe, either their fourth or their fifth game, or maybe they're starting their gauntlet a little bit early, considering coming into the night, they've only played 3 games. So Kintsugi is going to be playing a lot of games here very, very shortly. Dreamland going up against them is going to be very interesting because Kintsugi, even with the one loss they have, I think might be one of the better teams in this, or one of the best teams in this region. But because they've only shown us a handful of games, there's really not much to know about them.
Yeah, it's a really rough situation, especially when you have so little time to finish off these games. You don't get the benefit you had before of being able to reschedule a whole lot. Just for reference, it is the 7th as of right now. The last games typically scheduled like the 29th or the 30th. They have to play. They have to play 12 games in that span of time. 12 games in about 24 days. That means every other day, at least, they are going to be playing in a game. I mean, hell, just from Thursday in a week forward, they had to play 5 games. It's going to be like 6 games after that. It is going to be a gauntlet. Now, it could go their way. I think the couple times we saw them, they have been impressive. They definitely have shown some of their weaker points, but their one big loss was to YFP. Which YFP is a good team, but the fact that you could say, oh, well, who did they beat for their other 2 wins? They beat Extinction and Artemis, 2 really good teams right now. That speaks a lot. Even though we have such a little sample size, it gives you hope that this team that is currently 2-1 could end up being a team that gets themselves 9-10 wins into the playoffs.
Yeah, but that's a story for a different day. Dreamland, though, 7-0 on the season. 8 more games left to go. They still have a couple really strong opponents ahead of them. Shikigami, Nightmare, YFP, Extinction. I mean, you have those other teams are in that top 5 still to go. So Dreamland undefeated right now. But let's talk about them again in 2 weeks and see if they're still undefeated, because they do go through about 3 other members on that top 5 here very soon. Amplify, on the other hand, again, I don't think there's anything to hang your head about in this game. You went up against a really tough team, brought them to their limit on a lot of these maps. Just the last one was the only one where it looked like they were kind of outclassed. I think there's a lot you can take away from this series if you're Amplify. You go back, you VOD, you figure out what went wrong, and you really improve on it. Because, again, we saw Kintsugi play them earlier on this season, and it seemed like Amplify was a little bit lost for the most part. This was a completely different Amplify team here tonight. They looked a lot better, and I think that's going to help. I think that's going to be a good thing for them here in the rest of this regular season.
Yeah, 100%. I'm excited for them in this situation. They have a couple of tough games back-to-back coming on this weekend, on Saturday and Sunday. Iliad Artemis and Kintsugi, both, I think, really good teams right now from what we have been able to see. But if they're able to get rid of one of those, I think that's a really good job right there, because you still have Helios, EDM, EU Takeover, teams that, with the way we saw Amplify perform today, should have a leg up over. So, like I said, if they're able to stay consistent, to keep racking up these wins, I think they're 100% going to be a playoff team. It would suck for it just to be not the case, but we saw it last season with teams like Hivemind where they got so close and the gap was so small, but they just barely missed out.
Yeah, but hey, we are back. It's going to be a great rest of the regular season here in both NA and South America. Great way to get started here tonight with this series. Really, really close. Going to be really fun to watch these teams and the rest of the other teams that we're going to be covering here throughout the rest of the regular season this month.
Yeah, I'm really excited for it, but obviously we have more of that coming on this Friday. We got another double feature for y'all on that one. Should be pretty exciting, pretty, I'd say pretty important games, all things considered, in both regions for teams trying to contend for playoffs. But obviously we'll talk more about that on Friday, so make sure to come back same time, same place for those amazing matchups. For everybody that came out and watched tonight, please have yourselves a fantastic night. We see you Friday for some more Faceit League action. Take care.